Alrighty. Got some new parts come in. Ignition wires, MAF sensor, coil pack wiring harness because whoever cut the engine out cut the coil pack wiring harness, so thanks for that. We got the MAP sensor for the intake manifold, some fuel injectors for the intake manifold as well, so we can finally install that and be done with it. Now we got the engine oil here because you don't ever want to put in O-rings dry. You always want to lube it up before you put it in. Stop looking at me like that. And they're gonna squeeze. What the? Alright, here's all 8 of them on. Now we gotta put these top rails to apply pressure on the top side, and then they'll be seated. Also, with these aftermarket intake manifolds, you don't want these metal clips on. You want to take all these off because it won't fit inside the fuel rail. So now I gotta take all these clips off, and they're actually really sharp. Alright, so there's a key difference between these two fuel injectors. Here's one with the plastic part, and here's one how it should be without the plastic part. So you have to take off this plastic part to actually get a full seating, or else they'll stick out like ½ an inch more than what they should, and these holes won't line up. And we decided to try and force these injectors with the plastic part in and compress it as hard as we could, because we're like, oh, maybe it's just not sealing. So now these plastic things are extra stuck on the fuel injectors, so now we have to pry it off with a flathead screwdriver. Welcome to Forensic Garage, where we figure out why we're stupid. So challenge of the day is to pry this plastic piece off without completely obliterating the O-ring. To give you guys a little height difference, these are the ones that we forgot to take the plastic piece off, and then these are the ones that are seated correctly. So obviously that's a big difference. So here's what the intake manifold looks like with all the fuel injectors on and the fuel rail on. Now you can see that these fuel injectors are a little too tall. You got a lot of threads left on the screw back here. Now I only bought these because I just needed fuel injectors for the compression test, and they were only 50 bucks on Amazon. So I'll definitely have to purchase some real good quality fuel injectors. Yeah, these ones are just way too tall for this aftermarket intake manifold, but we can kind of mock our fueling setup and kind of what we want to do for that, because that's also the next thing I got to figure out as well. We also have our manifold absolute pressure sensor that just plugs in the back of the manifold. Now, I'm just now figuring out that I bought the wrong sensor. There's no real way to actually mount this. Back to online shopping. Okay, we've got the intake manifold prepped and ready to go. We've got the LS right here, prepped and ready to go. Gotta put the intake manifold on right now. Boom. Now, the hood doesn't close anymore, which I thought it closed in the last video when we put it on. It's like almost closed, but it's not. You can see it leaves some residue on the intake manifold. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the engine back on the hoist, and then we're gonna scoot it back on the mounts, and that might be able to let it sit a couple inches lower, and then we'll have enough clearance. Because I don't really want to have a cutout in the hood. I kind of want to keep this car as clean as possible, so we'll try that. And then while we're here, someone did cut the coil pack wiring harness, so I do have to replace them, and I'll just replace both while we're here. So basically what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take off the intake manifold, hook the engine hoist back up, lift it up. I'm gonna try and scoot the engine back on the motor mounts as far as possible, because there's a little lip that's digging into the oil pan right there. I want to get a Dremel and try and sand that down to see if the engine could sit maybe a ½ inch lower, and also not be in danger of getting impaled by the subframe, because that oil pan is a little expensive, so I'd rather not have to replace it if I don't have to, but that's where we're at right now. So I was doing some scooping around, and as you can see, the transmission mounting bracket bolt is just like really out. So I'm gonna fix that right now, and then I also have the transmission jacked up a little bit to take the tension off, so then maybe I could push this back a little bit. I'm not really sure how I can get it to fit the new intake, but we're gonna try to take off this boot shifter guard. It's basically just a metal plate, and then it is down there. I'm gonna see if I can install that and see if the transmission is lined up, so then I could tell if the engine's lined up, and then I could tell what I need to cut and what I need to sand down, so then the oil pan will fit. I don't know where this thing would go, honestly. The guy I got the car from said that this would work with it. It's not really looking like that. Let me go see from under the car if this would need to go from the bottom up. Okay, we got the shifter on there, and the transmission actually sounds good. All I gotta do is 3D print a mount for this because that mount that the previous owner gave me doesn't fit on anything. So that'll be the next step for the shifter, but we did get it in and the transmission does sound good, so that's good news. It's definitely been a couple hours. I took off the bolt holding the steering rack and pinion on both sides. It freed up a little bit of space, but it's still kind of grinding into the oil pan, which I don't really like. I repositioned the engine on the mounts, see if I can get a better fitment. Not really. I was about to install these coil pack wires, but then I forgot I have no spark plugs, so can't really do that. I'm gonna reinstall the intake manifold back on the engine, see if I have any better clearance with the new engine position, but I don't know. The more I look at this car, I see just so many cut wires, cut sensors. So I gotta make another list of what I gotta buy because I just keep finding more sensors the more I look. That's where we're at so far, so. So I went and got the clutch kind of mocked up, and now it works. Alright, go ahead and press it, Jake. One more time. So, clutch is in. I'm getting a really big case of the more you look, the more you find. Nothing's even bolted in. I could just grab this and later. Same with the headlights. I just grab these and just go and take. Oh! That's gonna be it for today. Can't really do too much until the throttle body comes in, the intake piping comes in. Probably gonna have to take the engine out to wire it. I need spark plugs. And then just got a 3D model that gear shifting mount. Clutch works. Intake manifold is complete and on. Got the shifter on. Kind of. Got to order a new map sensor because I ordered the wrong one. The main thing I'm worried about is how do we get the starter that's on the Nissan transmission to tell the LSPCM that it's spinning. I don't know how much that's going to play a factor, but we might have to take the run signal from the starter, I would assume, and bring that to the PCM, but that'll be for next time once we get the whole intake manifold and intake process complete. But yeah, slowly but surely ordering parts every week-ish, and then the throttle body will be here in about a week, so we'll be able to work on that. Yeah, today was fun. Gotta invest in the instant soap and water. We'll put the starter on next week as well. That's it for today at Fern's Garage. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.